Hope that works. All right, everybody. Welcome to Supergirl Sunday. I have 90s jams in the back to get things started. We're going to be talking a little bit about astrology, as well as some Kryptonian myth, and we're going to add that all together. So it'll be fun times. Thank you for joining. Happy Sunday. We're going to talk about right now. Okay, we're going to do. I need to have an eraser. So it's going to be here. Hi, Samurai Ninja. Oh, wait, hold on. I need to mirror this. There. Beautiful. So now you can read Supergirl Sunday School-ish. We are in session. Hi, Samurai Ninja. Hope your Sunday's going well. I have some 90s music in the back to help get as class files in. I've had a busy week. I found a studio that I'm going to be a member at in Toronto, in Kensington Market, so I can film some of my movie there. Really excited to be part of, because I've been working from home a lot, right? And, you know, when you're doing creative stuff, it's nice to be able to go somewhere. And so we're going to have some live in-person screenings now that I have a little spot that I'll be at one day a week. I'll have a desk there one day a week. So iDot Studios, what's up, Alan and team, everyone there. You have a beautiful, so I can't wait to amp up this live stuff as well, because they have I'll have more gear, access to more gear, and actually just more studio space in general. So what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to actually, let me turn down the vibes. It's about trust, babe, what's love? I loved Ashanti back in the day. What happened to Ashanti? Her, Christina Milian. Oh, I loved Christina Milian. I loved all the girl groups. So I do have a few things coming up in August. So I have announcements before class begins. You know what? Let me just get right into what we're going to talk about today. I have crypto here. I'm actually filming some stuff. I'm going to change into Batgirl a little bit later. Problems with managers, probably. Yeah, you know, I came from a project management background. I think I told you guys this before. And so I know what it's like to deal with. I'm a creative too, but when you're talking about timelines and budget and things it's like all the non-fun things when it comes to bringing any kind of creative process or creative work to life. Things need to be built, right? Like building a set in theater or even I was watching a movie, not a movie, like on YouTube, just because I like watching what other creators are doing and how they've solved their own problems when it comes to making certain things. But just, what was I going at with this? Anyways, I'm just going to jump into what we're going to talk about today, which is Happy Sunday, guys. I'm your host for today, Kara Zor-El, the last daughter of Krypton. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing astrology, but with a spin on it. We're going to do it with Kryptonian myth. Oh, I just reminded myself. Hold on. I need to get an eraser. Gosh. Holy, you can hear the sounds of the city behind me, right? Okay, so let's begin. I also have some screenplays that I'm working on as well, here, World's Finest, Batgirl, and Supergirl. So I'm filming Supergirl's plates first, and then I'm going to be doing Batgirl. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Okay, so astrology for today. Oh, thank you. It's my mushroom house. I've gone in there multiple times during psychedelic journey. Because you know what, Samurai Ninja, is there a reason for your name actually, by the way? Because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about why he wanted to visit Japan, because I was like, do you have a bucket list of places that you want to visit in the next few years? And do you guys have a bucket list? I want to still visit Japan. I would love to visit Japan, but he also wanted to visit Japan. I was like, how come you want to visit Japan? And it's just certain things in certain cultures I feel call out to you, so the idea of the samurai, the way of the samurai, there's a nobility and level of like what it takes to be a warrior and all that embedded in that. So cool name, by the way. So let's go into Kryptonian myth. I wanted to actually go into like lining it up with the astro. Actually, I'm gonna play some music while I pull this up. Let me just, okay. Kryptonian god. That's what I wanted to. I've been meaning to do this forever. Kryptonian deities. Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. Oh no, not that many. Okay. I'm not familiar with all of them, but we're going to talk about Rao and Nightwing. Oh my gosh, I love this part of the song. Okay, anyways, that's making me distracted. Okay. So, astrology and Kryptonian myth. I'm going to write this down. It's funny because there's a scene in one of the comic books where Kara talks about Kryptonian mythology, and she says it from a perspective of that her father only used the myths and that religion as a way to control her. So something interesting there. But, you know, if we think about myth in general, technically speaking, there's no real difference between certain myths and religions, right? Because myths are essentially sacred stories. And if you have personal sacred stories that you have a belief in, those are, he's my favorite. He may have. Okay, yeah, may have. Okay, so Kryptonian myth. We're going to talk about the sun god. Sun god. So last time, if you guys have been in class, superhero school, we talked a little bit about the main luminaries. So the sun god, we have the glyph of the sun, and I have that here as well, right? So in our mythology here, we have numerous sun gods. So let's talk about them, because Supergirl loves her sun, but ironically enough, under Kryptonian myth, the sun god is Rao. And like that's why sometimes Clark says Rao's beard or something like that as an expletive, that kind of thing. So Rao is the sun god on Krypton. Oh my gosh, that's not, I don't want to write that. I'm going to put red sun. And then we've got Ra in Egypt myth. And in some cases, so we have Ra, the red sun, on Krypton. I'm going to put Krypton in. Okay. And so, hey Gwen Stacy, how's it going? Welcome to Superhero School. We're learning about Kryptonian mythology today, and I'm lining it up with astrology. So I hope you guys are well, and if you feel comfortable dropping your sun sign, right? Which is essentially where the sun was when you were born, right? In the whole chart, where the sun was placed is your sun sign. So I'm a Taurus. The sun was in Taurus when I was born. But you also have other placements, right? You have your moon sign, your Venus sign, all that kind of stuff. But I'm looking at this from a mythology perspective, because if you think about Kryptonians on Krypton, such as Krypto and Kara and all of her friends, they don't have powers on Krypton because of the fact that they have a red sun. So that means that our sun, which I'm going to call Sol, right? We have a yellow sun. And this yellow sun is why Supergirl is able to have her powers. Now, this isn't explicitly explained, I don't think. Like, if you look into, like, why does Superman have his powers, it's there's also more gravity, yes. And there's also, like, the tell of, like, like, the only weakness that the Supes have, or, like, the Superman family have, are the fact that kryptonite, right? So the very element from their home planet is the thing that can destroy them. So it's just interesting kind of juxtaposition of those things. Yes, but there is also more gravity, as well as I think there's a tell there, because as you guys know, like Money Boy Grayson, I did not see the new movie yet. I'm going to be seeing it probably when I go to Vancouver. So, fun travel notice. I'll be in Vancouver on Tuesday, and you're in luck, Felipe, because my sister is a cosplayer of Wonder Woman. And so me and her are going to reunite and do some fun content together as Supergirl and Wonder Woman. And yes, I've heard good things, so I'm excited to go see it with her. So reason why I didn't go right away is because I have a thing about crowds and a lot of people, which is ironic considering I live in the big city of Toronto, dangerously allergic to the kryptonite. But I also, there's a comic book where Supergirl has all of her powers amplified, and she's then able to hear everyone calling out to her, like, Supergirl, help me, help me. And so it's just like, and I relate to that. Like, I can feel, it's a thing, like, I have, like, almost, like, radar on with me with my friends. I'm like, if you need me, you call me. I will come pick you up. I will come get you. I will come call me. We'll figure something out. But there is, like, Supergirl can't save everyone, right? That's why there's the Justice League. That's why there's Friends. Yes, I'm very excited about the new Supergirl movie because it's based on Woman of Tomorrow. And if you guys have read that series, it's sweet. It's kind of like a magical Wizard of Oz coming of age tale of Supergirl as she becomes into herself, right? So please do from Alberta. Hey, Maury, I'm a prairie girl at heart, right? So we do want to do some traveling road shows, you know, bring back live action theater in real life and like touring and all that kind of stuff. Lost Frequencies is playing. Very cool. Lost Frequencies is playing main stage Tomorrowland at the moment, at this very moment. Oh my gosh, maybe we'll watch some of that together. Very fun. Bringing this back to myth, you just gave me full body tingles with that, because music. Have you guys ever had, let's talk about myth, divination, the sun and oracles for just a moment, because I'm like, as you were saying that, Maury, I just got like this hit with this whole bunch of stuff. So let me just unpack it for a second. I've always been a very intuitive little girl, so I've always like known things that they're going to happen before they would happen, and I would be very I don't know if you guys have done this in the past, like make deals with yourselves, make oaths to yourself, make a promise to yourself, like if by 16 I don't figure out how to fly, then I'm just gonna like leave this planet. I haven't seen Superman. I'm gonna be seeing it on Tuesday, you guys, with my sister who's Wonder Woman, and hopefully we're gonna go to that premiere in Vancouver in cosplay. Hey, my friend Sandra is coming with me as well, and she hasn't cosplayed yet, but she would be amazing as a huntress. She'd be a good huntress, so we can do some Birds of Prey stuff. So stay tuned as I get all my friends in on my cosplay. I also, you guys, fun fact, I got studio space here in Toronto. I'm going to be a member of like a creative collective of producers, cinematographers, movie makers in Kensington Market, right next to Dragon City Mall. How's that for launching the Dragon Warriors, right? So hopefully I can invite some of you guys over to that space if you are also creatives, because I'm trying to build out something pretty cool, and the guys who own the studio are really awesome. Like it was such a vibe connect. He was like, I saw your set doing The Fifth Element, Lilu and Dallin Corbin Dallas, and he's like, and literally the next day you like messaged me. I was like, what? So bringing that back to divination, so have you guys ever like heard a song on the radio that appears, like the other day, Always Be My Baby by Mariah Carey, which was one of my favorite songs when I was a teenager, came on the radio out of nowhere, and I was just like, whoa, like, what is that? Like, the lyrics in that song are very powerful to me, and like, you want to be free, so I'll let you fly. I'll play it soon. And I feel like I get messages from the universe sometimes telling me to make dances to certain songs. So there's a difference between freestyling, like freestyle dancing, or let's say like freestyle. This right now is freestyle. I don't have a script. I'm just talking to you guys live and we're just riffing with each other, right? And then having planned choreography, right? Now, when I was first learning how to dance, I used to be such a person who was like, I was not very good at picking up choreography quick. I was always very envious of my friends who would like, you know, either see a move or like see a sequence of moves and they can just pick it up. I could do that for some songs, right? I could do that for songs that I knew and I loved, but if it was songs I didn't know, I couldn't pick up the choreo. Now, if I was able to just freestyle to that song, no problem, right? But now when you have choreo and you have everyone else doing it with you, there's this idea of being in sync, right? Synchronized, right? And so there's a satisfaction that when the beat hits and you hit at the same time, there is a, oh my gosh, I don't know how else to describe. There's magic in it, right? Or even when you're all waiting and you're all going to move on the four, that kind of thing. And if I had that out.
Bluetooth is disconnected.
Oh, my Bluetooth just disconnected. Okay, I was playing some music before. Oh, I'm going to put a flash goal on you guys. Let's get into some actual astrology and divination. So just to give you guys some background into me, I cosplay, obviously, but I'm an astrologer as well, but that's not my main thing. My main thing is that I'm a writer, and it's taken me this long to finally be like, yeah, I'm a writer. That's like my main thing, and everything else is like contributes to that, right? So even the cosplaying, because this is me hopefully putting on the mantle of Supergirl respectfully. Right? So any of you cosplayers out there as well, I've also, like you guys have, I've got a Guy Gardner, I've got anyone who feels called to embody a certain mantle, right? There are certain avatars here that are meant to hold certain energy signatures. That is why you have favorite characters, right? I have a friend, Aria, who's really big into comic books as well, but she doesn't understand my love of Supergirl, right? She's like, I don't get it. Like, she loves more of like the witchy characters, like Scarlet Witch, or who's the other girl? Like Zatanna, we both love, right? I love Zatanna. But these different characters that you have favorites with, like she doesn't like Batgirl, she doesn't like Supergirl. She likes them, but they're not like favorite characters. But I love them. I love Supergirl and Batgirl for different reasons. And oh, George Vaughn, thank you for the love you so much. Love you so much. But it's all about just, there's certain resonance in the stories that they go through, even though they're like these big, fantastical, cosmic stories that you can relate to, right? For example, Supergirl has to basically live up to the idea that her younger cousin is the Superman, right? This idea of like, to be that noble, to be that good, to be that just, even though Supergirl's got a little bit of a temper. And also, in many origin stories, Supergirl has been in stasis for a number of years, which is why she's a girl, even though she's older than Superman, because when she's in stasis, she's a teenager. And there's all this stuff about Candor and Brainiac and different timelines and her dying in 1985 with no real resurrection, right? It's more just we have different timelines and different worlds wherein these characters haven't died yet. But like, what is death? Really, it's just kind of like the end of a story, and thus now a retrospective realignment into a new, like, energy is not created or destroyed, it's transmuted, right? And so it's kind of a bit of a misnomer, because then what is creation then if it's not getting something from nothing? I'm just leaving that there. I don't have an answer to that. So let's bring it back to Kryptonian myth. Happy Sunday, you guys. Supergirl Sunday, Supergirl Sunday School. I used to teach Sunday school back in the day when I was at this, back in the prairies, St. Emile School. I used to teach like kindergarten. So to me, all of what myth means is that these are sacred stories, and I love stories. I love stories from all cultures. I love comic book stories. I love stories that people just have about their lives. I could listen to any of your stories about your life for hours. It's just, the way I am, I guess. And that's why I wanted to take journalism, because at the end of the day, journalism is about finding the story, right? And the truth between the lines. Now, myth, interestingly enough, is not make-believe, right? We don't say that myth and fairy tales are the same thing per se, right? Fables and parables are not the same thing as having a mythology. Mythology on some levels is real, right? I was reading a little PDF the other day about how interesting it is that our reality is made up of so many parts that aren't real, right? It takes a lot of imagination and thought to create things that exist in a 3D space. Now, bringing it back to the sun god, Kryptonian myth. In myth, in the planetary alignments of things, when you're talking about your astrology or your horoscope, you're talking about your sun sign, right? And so class, do you guys know any other sun gods or goddesses that exist besides the three that I have here? This idea of Ra, the red sun god of Krypton, Ra, the Egyptian sun god, Sol, which is sometimes what we call our yellow sun here in this solar system. We can talk about, because I love how different cultures have the sun as either masculine or feminine, right? So we've got my favorite sun god, you guys, is Apollo. I don't know why. I always pictured Apollo as being like hot. I don't know why. Okay, so Apollo, I hope, is it 2 P's or is it 1 P's? Apollo, I think it's 2 P's. No, it's not. It's 1 P. Looking at him like, nope. Okay, so we've got Apollo. And he's got his sister Diana, or Artemis. Draw the moon and then the sun. So we got, oh, hey Nix. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I work to be a goddess every day. I have a lot of resonance with Aphrodite and Hathor and the goddesses of love and beauty. And so I am a Taurus. I'm kind of like, so thank you. So we've got Apollo, which is the Greek sun god, and then Diana and Artemis, who are moon goddesses. And Apollo and Artemis are brother and sister, right? In Filipino mythology, I forget, I think Lokini? I think that's how you spell it. Apolokini in Filipino, and it's Mayari, who I named my D&D character after in that. Hey, talk show. How's it going? I have to respond to all your emails. I've been really behind on all of the actual organizational things. I'm launching my book on the 30th of this, not the 30th, sorry, August 1st. Is August 1st my first book? The Dragon Warriors Battle for Mount Olympus, Part 1 and Part 2 is releasing on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. And then the campaign that you can join, which is an RPG game that you can play within the Dragon Warriors universe, is going to be available on the 15th of August. And then we'll be running a campaign, I think for like every lunar cycle we'll do it. Like it's going to be like the 28 days of what a lunar cycle is, and we'll like map our journey up Mount Olympus as your different dragon characters. And like, yeah, I'm so excited. Hey, Spider Carnage, happy Sunday. Happy Supergirl Sunday. So we're talking about sun gods and moon goddesses, or sun goddesses and moon gods, which actually just reminds me of, remember we did Moon Night together, right? We had Khonsu, who is a moon god. And so this is my first official cosplay, you guys. So let me take a brief moment to tell you guys a little story, because Fan Expo is coming up, right? At the end of in August, end of August. And so fun because I have a studio before then. So oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So hopefully I can get we can film some cosplay stuff in my actual studio. You're going to maybe we can have a meetup, you guys. Can we? A party, Fan Expo party, after party. I'll plan it. No worries, we'll do it. So, story about this cosplay. I have to redo the back. the S and all that and make it a little bit more glammed up. I do have boots with this as well. So this cosplay, I went to Fan Expo with my sister who's Wonder Woman in Fan Expo 2019. I think it's 19? No, 2018 or so, I think. Oh, thank you. And I did not sew this cosplay. However, I used to compete in bodybuilding and fitness shows. And so bodybuilding and fitness shows, as you guys know, maybe not know, you spend a lot of money on that sparkly bikini and like the rhinestones, the Swarovski crystals, all that kind of stuff, and the shoes, all that stuff. But I was lucky. I had a suit sponsor, Lisa Sexy Effects. She does a lot of the Caravana costumes as well. Look her up. She's amazing. But she, this was going to be my last fitness competition. So I was like, I'm going to be retiring from fitness. But I have a request for like from the last outfit that you make me after I'm done in fitness. Could you make me a cosplay? Oh, thanks, Pokey. Love you too. I hope you're well. And hopefully, I do want to meet with you about being a mod for the gaming stuff coming up. Yeah, I have a to-do list of everything as I organize everything. Tomorrow is Monday, right? And on Tuesday, wait, okay, I'm going off on a tangent on like getting lost in the calendar. And calendar time is so not how time works, because I remember when I was a project manager. Wait, let me tell you guys the story of this, and I got to go finish actually what I wanted to teach you guys in this session. Because welcome to Superhero Sunday School. Oh, Pokey! Yay! So the way I look at comic books is this. When I even look at astrology, it's from a perspective of stories, right? Each of these luminaries represent a god or goddess, which has stories attached to them or myths attached to them that can tell you intel about yourself. I'll put it this way. Like, in all of us, whether or not you're a man or a woman, you're going to have a masculine and feminine aspect. It's like back in the day when I was writing, I was 14 years old, and back when I was 14, I was so boy crazy, you guys. I had like posters of like Backstreet Boys and like 98 Degrees, and like who else? Like Marky Mark. But I also loved like Marilyn Monroe. I had a huge black and white poster of Marilyn, as well as all the Spice Girls and all that kind of stuff. So, but I was like boy crazy. Me and my friends were so boy crazy. I had such crushes on like boys that never knew. Now, bringing this around to your masculine self, right? So when I was writing my 14-year-old book, I had to put myself, my psyche, into what it was like to be a boy, play pretend. Like, okay, if I were a boy, what would I do? I'd treat you good, promise. Like, what? And so I ask my girlfriends this sometimes, like, try to just put yourself in the shoes of being a boy, and like, if you had a girl, like, how would you treat her? Like, be honest. Like, because a lot of us, if we behaved in the same way as we were as females as a boy, like, no, we wouldn't get away with it. Just like, sorry, I'm cute. Like, my hubby tells me that all the time. He's just like, you could just be like, oh, cute. I'm so cute. I'm Rachel. I can get away with it. I'm like, that's not true. But it is, I guess. Maybe. Oh, Steve Paris, thank you. But I'll share with you this. It's when that's empathy, right? This idea of taking you and placing it into, like, doing a thought experiment, a little bit of fun, of being like, what would it be like if I were in those shoes? And so as I wrote the boys in my book, so in my book, I have me and my 3 best friends, the 4 of us, and we're going on our, like, last grade 8 retreat field trip before we graduate, and we're going to the White Shell in Manitoba, which has these ancient petroglyphs and petroforms. And when the earth shakes and we fall through the ground, we see this big red dragon, right? So in Manitoba, there's something called the Red River. It's like Louis Riel and the Red River Rebellion. Rivers and fresh waters in Eastern mythology typically represent dragons, right? So I have it that the Red River is really on this higher level, a beautiful red dragon. And she's like, oh, you guys are just in time for the game, right? The big game where we all scale Mount Olympus and you find out who you truly are. It's more complicated than that, but that's the general gist of things. And then you basically have to take this circular upward path up a mountain to get to the top, to eventually get to Mount Olympus. Now, there's an extra layer of complexity because a virus has infiltrated this cosmic game called Queen Wetiko. And in Native American lore, Wetiko is known as a mind virus. It's a virus of selfishness. It's this idea that you're cannibalizing yourself. So this virus has entered the game, and so we have this extra layer of, yes, we have to go scale Mount Olympus, find out the true warriors that we really are, and bring magic back to the realm, bring order back to the cosmos, as well as expunge and push out the infiltration and the infection that has come into our realm. That kind of stuff, you know? It's taken a lot to kind of like go through and make sure that my own plot points make sense, because when I was 14, I was just like, yeah, well, older Rachel will figure that out, right? So let's go back to what we were saying. Apollo, Diana. So do you guys have any other sun gods that you can think of, or goddesses? We have Helios. Do you guys know the story of Helios and the chariot? Hey, Superman. And I forget his son's name, but Helios is the story of his son who made Helios promise him to fulfill his wish. He's like, Dad, I want you to promise me that you're going to give me anything that I want for my birthday. And Helios is like, okay, I guess I'll do that. Hey, Reed Richards. Fancy seeing you here around this dimension. I'm going through Phaethon. Oh, yes, Ra is a sun god. And I had that on the original panel when I was talking about Kryptonian myth, because Kryptonian myth actually lines up well with Egyptian myth. Actually, that's a good way for me not to go off on a tangent, because I had a curriculum planned today, you guys, because I had a dream the other day. I have a lot of dreams actually, but I dreamed the other day that in many of these stories there's a lot of stuff encoded. Now, there are oftentimes people who, for whatever reason, like many of my girlfriends, they're never going to read comic books. They're just not into it, right? However, when we're doing our nails or something, and I tell them a story of what happened in a comic book between like Black Canary and Green Arrow as a way to help them deal with their relationship problems, they're like, wow, what a great story in a comic book. I'm like, yeah, but I guess it just took me telling it to you, right? So I look at it that way. Some of you guys, some of us are holders of story, right? Andromeda. Ooh, yeah. And was Andromeda with Perseus? Or was that a different hero? Jason and the Argonauts. I do love Jason and the Argonauts too. I love all the myth. Stay tuned for, because those are public domain, right? You wouldn't get into copyright police for that. Okay. So today's astrology, stuff that's coming up for you guys to look for is, yes, Mercury is going into retrograde, but do not worry about that. My middle name is Jason. I've always loved Jason as a name. It's a good, strong name. Unfortunately, Jason also goes through this whole downfall situation, which I feel like Beowulf has this. There's like the hubris of being a leader and a king and not forgetting your roots and like where you came from, that kind of stuff. So what I wanted to talk to you guys today, before anything, I've been meaning to, but I just didn't. Wolfie is definitely a moon god. Oh, Pokey, yes. Oh, I got full body tingles when you said that. You hear that? You hear that, Wolfie? You're a moon god. He knows. And we met a girlfriend, his girlfriend at the dog park the other day. Her name's Kate. She's also 10, and she's a couple months older than Wolfie, so it's very fun. Me and Wolfie are actually going to do some crypto Supergirl stuff coming up, and with some help from Hal Jordan and the Green Lanterns, so stay tuned for that. But we're going to talk about Kryptonian mythology and the lineup between Kryptonian myth and Egyptian myth. Egyptian myth, I find people do get a little bit, I don't want to say get wrong, but there's no way to get myth wrong, right? You can tell the Orpheus Eurydice myth multiple ways. You can tell the Perseus myth multiple ways, the Medusa myth multiple ways, and they can all be true, right? But with Egyptian myth, I feel like when I was a young girl growing up in the prairies and reading tons of books from the library, I feel like my versions that I remember don't match up with a lot. So I'm going to give you my version and how it lines up to Kryptonian myth. And if you have a different perspective, please do shout it out in the chat. I'm always open to different versions and ways of things going, because it always helps to bring nuance and additional clarification to things, I find. And sometimes a clue can appear in the most interesting of places. Okay, so we already talked about this before, but we've got Ra, the red sun god. If you guys have watched the show Krypton, they have Ra as also being like the many-faced god. Wait, no. Like the Ra of the many faces. It's like he absorbed all the other gods and became this one god who then ends up with like some space virus, which is a whole other thing. Go watch Krypton though. It is a great show. So underrated. I think we should do some watch parties of it. 60s Jason, there is a cool 60s movie with the skeletons, you guys. I think that's from Jason. The many realms, yes. And many of you guys are guardians over them, right? Think of Red Skull, yes. Yeah, so we have Ra, the red sun god. Now, Ra has many children, I think, but we're going to focus on 3. I forget what the builder's name is. Hold on one second. I'll figure it out. So we've got
Bluetooth is connected.
Builder God. I forget his name. I'll look it up quick. And then you have Flamebird. And you have Nightwing. And they're all siblings. So, wait, hold on. This is Dad. So here you got Dad, which is Ra. And then you have the Builder God. I'll figure out his name. Bluetooth is connected. And then you have Flamebird and Nightwing. And they're all siblings. Now, in Egyptian myth, you have... Let's call her Isis. This is Osiris. Isis and Osiris. They line up. One sec. I'm going to find out. It's going to bother me. Kryptonian... Vok. How do you say that? Okay, here. So you have Ra, the dad, and then you have Vok, the builder god. And then you have Flamebird, who is kind of like the phoenix, right? She's a goddess. These two are dragons. So these two are dragon gods, Flamebird and Nightwing. Nightwing, the god, is where Nightwing Dick Grayson gets his name from. The Kryptonian connection between that. So the story goes is that Nightwing is the loneliest of all of Ra's children because he guards the night. He doesn't get to hang out with the rest of the gods and goddesses. He has to, he's night patrol, which is kind of like what the Bat family is, if you think of in the whole pantheon of superheroes, right? So what happened was, there's also Synthana. I'm going to put this here. And she's like this ice evil goddess. I relate her to the evil queen in Narnia? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Yes, Flamebird would be in the Titans live action. Because this is where the myths of the Flamebird and Nightwing come into place. I'm going to tell you my version of the story. It is one version of the story. I will have this in a follow-up because... my dungeon master on Thursday, the other day, who's like, Rachel, I was looking through YouTube and I found that you were talking about like the year of birth and like art pieces that come out at the same time. He's like, you didn't have an appendix of like the paintings that come out at certain times. So I'm like, oh, oops. So I will have an appendix for this with, there are snapshots of comic book panels that show these different versions of the stories. Now, let me tell you the story of Flamebird and Nightwing. And these two are lovers. They're like doomed, prophesized lovers. But we're going to get into this in just a second. Because oftentimes that's what causes the downfall of like, of Golden Age, right? Like Camelot falls because frickin' Lancelot and Guinevere get it on, and then Arthur's off trying to find the Grail, and he comes back, it's like, what the heck? So, adultery, or even the Coldplay concert thing, right? Like, think about all the stuff, everyone talking about the kiss cam thing. Oh, some Krypton lore, yes. I'm gonna prove that. Yeah. All right. Okay, so Ra is the sun god, the red sun god in this mythology on Krypton, and we have basically Vok, yeah. How would you say that? Vok. The kiss cam bit did become a meme. Fun fact though, I actually saw Coldplay live with my ex-boyfriend and friends long ago. This was like in North Dakota. We actually saw Coldplay. Actually, it's actually quite beautiful. It was like in this like valley, and we all had like blankets all around the side. And I remember having them sing Yellow and like have yellow balloons fall, and it's beautiful. But like at the same time, you know, any of you guys who have worked in corporate or any of those office settings know like a lot of shady-ish happens all the time. And everyone's just like, yeah, of course the HR person and the other guy are doing it. Who's surprised? No, it happens even in like fitness and stuff, right? Judges cheating on whoever with like athletes and like the coach and like the politics of it all. I have never been about that. And that has probably hurt me in some ways in terms of my career I've had. But I'm very proud to say that I've always kept my integrity, and I've been married the last 10 years, and yeah, just all that. He's slaying. Vok? Yeah, the extra. Okay. Now Fisher Rachel. Oh, I love that. The Fisher King is a great movie, Maury Landry. Have you guys seen it with Jeff Bridges? Tron? What the heck is that connection? That's something. I just got tingle intel on that. Let's see here. We live in a corruptive. We do, which is why the universe needs you. Right? Oh, thanks, Steven. Okay, so let's get into it. So Vok the Builder. Okay, so do you guys remember Game of Thrones, right? Bran the Builder. Not Bran the Broken, but before that, Bran the Builder. There's this concept of building the reality that we're in, building the stage by which the play, the cosmic play, takes place. So Vok is an older child to Rao, and his purpose is to basically build things. And now Flamebird, she's this beautiful phoenix dragon, and her purpose is to actually destroy everything that Vok creates so that he can then create something even better the next day. It's this idea of, do you guys remember seeing that thing where you have a lot of those guys who put the sand to make a huge, beautiful painting? Not a painting, but it's like an art piece. But at the end of it, it's just there for a moment, and they just like mash it all up and just ruin it. Because it's just there for that moment. And I feel like that with certain things like freestyle, or, you know, you have a live event like this right now. You can't pre-schedule it, or this idea of, you guys, yeah, so like there's this idea that Flamebird is just like the phoenix, this entity of creation and destruction. She's also beautiful and a goddess, and Vok is secretly in love with her. okay? Now, we have Nightwing, right? Now, no one knows about Nightwing because, as I told you, loneliest of all Ra's children. Loneliness, because he has to guard the night. So now, while Nightwing is doing Nightwing things, he befriends Valk, because Valk works at all times. And so Valk and his brother Nightwing, they become very close friends. Because Nightwing has no friends. He's just in the dark doing his thing. So Valk decides to introduce Nightwing to Flamebird. And I forget what the reasons are, but when Flamebird and Nightwing meet, they immediately fall in love. Now, this is a problem because Valk also loves Flamebird. Uh-oh. So now, Valk creates something in Flamebird's name because he's like, oh my gosh, he can see the fact that Flamebird, who he loves, is now falling in love with like his brother. He doesn't like this, but it's like heart-wrenching. I have been through this before, where someone you love loves someone else, right? So Valk then creates something. Let's call it like this emulation to Flamebird. Like, I love you, Flamebird, right? And so Flamebird, as she does at the end of every day, she's going to destroy it. But Valk's like, please don't. I did this for you, and if you could just do anything for me this once, could you just not destroy? Like, it's for you. I did this for you. I love you, Flamebird. But Flamebird's like, you know how this goes, Valk. I have to destroy what you create, and then you can create it again the next day. It's just the way things work. So she burns it up, and this time, Valk is pissed. He's like heartbroken and upset. So he creates a plan. He basically tricks Nightwing into saying like, oh, Flamebird wants to meet him at this place so they can get away from this place and maybe they can just be together. And Nightwing doesn't have to have this like duty of always like watching the night. But he basically tricks Nightwing into going into this box. Unfortunately, that box ends up being the Phantom Zone. So he traps Nightwing in the Phantom Zone. And I forget what happens with Flamebird, but I think she sacrifices herself. And she kills herself as a result. So it's like this doomed love story where Valk traps Nightwing in the Phantom Zone, and then Flamebird retaliates. And there's this idea that both Flamebird and Nightwing are fated lovers, and that every lifetime they're reincarnated. So what you're saying in Pokey about the Titans is that I think that there's like the reincarnations of Flamebird and Nightwing, that version of them. My Bluetooth. So that's the story of Flamebird and Nightwing. Even there's a comic book where Supergirl and Power Girl go to Kandor, and Supergirl is Flamebird and Power Girl is Nightwing, for them to fulfill some sort of prophecy there in Krypton. I'm not familiar with that story, don't quote me on that, but Flamebird and Nightwing, there is a myth, but there are also mantles by which other avatars are holding or wielding like on their behalf of those like energy signatures, right? So if we relate this to Egyptian myth, you have, of course, the sun god Ra. And Ra's funny. I know a lot about Egyptian myth. Like even Rachel has Ra on the front, on the top of it. And Ra is a very sun gods across all cultures. Sun gods across all cultures I've found are very sensitive gods. Like if you don't venerate them enough, or you don't like give them enough respect, they get very like, oh, why are you not? And then like hide away. So that's why it's good to have sun dances, good to like celebrate the sun, that kind of stuff. Bluetooth tell that traffic to be quiet. You know what? Let's put some music on. Maybe that'll help with it. Oh, there's also Aether.
Bluetooth is connected.
Let's play some 90s. Return of the Mac. Okay, so Egyptian myth. And he's got 4 children, right? So he's got Isis. Oh my gosh, I've spelled Nephthys' name wrong. I'm sorry, Nephthys. But Ra has children. Well, actually, in some cases, it's actually Nut and Geb. Because Nut is the goddess of the night sky and Geb is the god of the earth. Now, Isis and Osiris fall in love. Set gets all jealous, even though he's with Nephthys. And I believe that Nephthys is the mother of Anubis. Anubis in some renditions is the son of Osiris, and in some he's the son of Set. But Nephthys is the mother. But Nephthys also loves Osiris. So like Set gets really kind of like really jealous, and he does the same thing to Osiris that Vok does to Nightwing, which is essentially trick him and trap him in a box and kill him and all that kind of stuff. And then Isis, which is why I love her a lot as a goddess, is she goes through all of this trial and tribulation to find all of Osiris's pieces, put him back together, resurrect him, and have a child, which is Horus. And it's interesting, right? Because Horus is also a sun god, but he's the falcon sun god, and it's got a different myth to it than Ra. Also, Horus and Ra sometimes have altercations. Oh, I love this song. You're unbelievable. Anubis the kitty. That's a good name as well. I like Anubis. My sister, whose name is Narissa, she has a doggy who kind of looks like Anubis, so it's kind of funny. All right, so that was like my little foray into Egyptian myth and how that goes along with Kryptonian myth. I was going to do some Astra today, but I need to drop off because I'm going to be filming my own scenes. I made a script, World's Finest, featuring Supergirl and Batgirl. I made a little script, which basically you'll get to see a little later. So I have to do like hologram computer. I always remembered Anubis as a woman. Well, could be. Anubis is supposed to be there's a really cool scene in American Gods with Anubis where this lady dies and she's Muslim, right? And she's like still trying to work on the sauce and stuff, and Anubis comes to her and is like, you have to come with me. And she's like, why am I seeing Egyptian gods? Like, aren't I a Muslim? And he's like, well, someone believed. And it's this cool interaction because Anubis basically takes her heart and weighs it against a feather, right? And she, like, at this moment, she's like, I was unkind to the first boy I ever loved, and confessing all these things. And she's like, I did my best. And he's like nods, and he places the heart there and measures it against the feather. And he says, like, your best was good. And then he gets her to pick a door into the afterlife. So there's this idea of Anubis seems scary in many cases, but all gods of death, like Hades, they seem scary. But same thing with Osiris, right? Because Osiris, once he is killed and resurrected, he becomes the first mummy, right? And it's like, that's where we get knights from, sire, sir. This idea of there is no death. It's just this like transmutation of energies. I have watched the original Stargate multiple times. You might be thinking Bastet Pokey, and I feel like you have major Bastet vibes. Bastet's awesome. I love Bastet. Also the Eye of Ra, who's like the harbinger of vengeance for Ra, that kind of thing. But it's crazy too because, as I said, there's Egyptian myth can be wild because the different aspects can have multiple associations. I didn't watch Stargate the show though, Cavs Collectibles. I would. Do you have suggestions on where, like, should you just start from season 1 sometime? Yeah. But see, that's the thing. It takes me, for me to get into and reinvest into the show, I have to, like, go into the lore. No, watch the show. I'll watch it. I think there's intel in it, honestly. I think there's intel in everything. And it's so crazy how certain things connect to each other, really. So Stargate, the movie, right? I really love it. And also just because it gets into this idea of there are the gods, right? And then there's the hijack. There's those who are pretending to be gods and taking advantage of the stories that exist, right? And I think that also will wrap this live. The show is so... Wait, I bet you Cav's collectible spot, because it gives you... Oh my gosh, this song. It gives you more opportunity per episode to go deep into each of the characters, and also just like the story itself, like the why of the portals, and like how time-space works, and like how our dimensions are connected, and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think the OA does a good job with certain... Anubis isn't as scary. Wolfie is a saw collector here. He showed up here too. I'm so your fan. Oh no. You're so heavy though, buddy. What kind of palm-chi are you? Okay, guys, we do have portals, 100%. Hi, Sir Francis. How's it going? Oh, I think, though, the good news about the Superman movie, though, is that it is all in alignment with the prophecy. So I'll leave you guys with this, because I want to talk about Kryptonian myth, because Supergirl is known as being vulnerable to magic, right? But if we were to see someone flying, right, you're like, oh, is that magic? But it's supposed to be more grounded in science and kinetic and that kind of stuff. I'll come to your house. I'll pick you up. We'll fly there, Pokey. But you know what, though, it's all just about like what you want to believe in, and believing in it full stop, right? So when we were kids, all of that was so easy, and we oftentimes trick ourselves into thinking like, you know, for me to be an adult, for me to exist in this matrix, I'm gonna have to basically put to death, like, I can't be that I will never be accepted. I will never be able to fit. But that's the thing. We're not meant to fit. It's just meant for you to just figure out who you are. You are the universe getting to know itself. And so it's just funny when I was watching Justice League Dark and how the Justice League talks to Constantine and Zatanna, and this idea of like, well, magic doesn't make any sense, right? It's not logical. However, there is an intersection of where probability, mathematics, and magic go together, right? It's this idea that it seems like magic because in the time it's like that, but for any magician to do his trick, he's going to have had to create all of the certain boxes, stage the show. Even when I used to do like musical theater, like things like when we did Peter Pan, where the way you frame it and like the perspectives of things, even when we were doing movies, this is all a way of giving you an adjusted perspective. But is that real? And then does that matter, right? Because what matters most is what's real to you and what you let into your own personal mythology, right? Because in the story of you, at the end of the day, no one's going, like, whoever had the most toys at the end of the day is not the one who wins the game. It's just you going full stop, being exactly who you're supposed to be. You own that? Hey! Well, so I think that we can turn these things into portals too. So I'll meet you there. Many movies. Yes. So, the esoteric movie review is going to be a show that myself and my hubby are starting very soon. Hopefully panel discussions, and we can bring together different themes. So let's say different movies that deal with time travel, different movies that deal with portals, different movies that deal with like Terminator. I love how Terminator deals with time travel and different timelines and how the branching works, all that stuff. So that's it for the live, you guys. I'm gonna go and film my panels for Supergirl. I'm gonna get Wolfie changed into Crypto. We'll see if he wants to go live with me when he's Crypto, but he gets very like camera shy. He like knows when the camera's on. He's like, oh no. But thank you guys so much. Oh, Pokey, that's sweet. I do have a few things. I have enough subscribers on my YouTube to be able to put up my shop now. So stay tuned for some of my drawings being put into like t-shirt modes. It's like fun little inspirational sayings and also sacred geometry stuff, because this S, right, it's more than just the S, right? Like there's a few comic books where like it connects and it becomes the Ouroboros, right? And also in you, your Kundalini snake that sits 3.5 times wrapped around the base of your spine, and this idea of all of your chakras when they reach full enlightenment. Hope, right? Yeah, hope, but also like power, right? But like power when it comes from a place of love and altruism, right? Because power is power, yes, but it only comes to you when you're worthy, and only you get to decide that. So that's I'm not gonna leave this and back my ass up. Run this team. All right, guys. It's the guy from Fortnite. Okay, guys. Oh, that's very sweet, you guys. So I wish all of you guys well in all of your superhero endeavors. Happy Supergirl Sunday, Superhero Sunday, Superman Sunday. I will catch all of you guys very soon. I'm going to be changing into Batgirl. We'll see if she goes live as well. But I have a lot of fun stuff launching very soon. So thank you all for being... I will see you at Fan Expo Spider. Oh, and also stay tuned. I'm going to have a Fan Expo after party, probably at the studio. I'll see what we can do. So hopefully I see some of you guys there, but of course before then. And remember, it takes true courage for you to be exactly you in the game of life. So make sure you're playing as exactly you, because the universe is counting on you. But no worries, I do have your back. Bye.